So explain a little bit. What is Gruner doing? Maybe some brands you're having as you're owning as magazines, for example.
Yeah. So Gründer's roots is one of the biggest international publishers in the world. Heritage magazines with 280 magazines, and was an early adapter in the transition to digital. We can talk about that, what happened there. And has basically built back up a digital presence with about 220 million euros of digital revenue.
Yeah, exactly. You were one of the first early adopters, and then you hit the ground very hard, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And there's still some pain points from the past that you're right now, let's keep it like that, not very offensive concerning your digital strategy, right?
Well, I think probably no one would ever make that move, but a couple of predecessors of Julia thought the newspaper business was a better business in 2000 and 2001 than a digital business. So.
Yeah, right, absolutely. So if you would have to explain, I mean, you're a chief digital and sales officer, so you're responsible for the digital strategy.
Yeah.
If you would have to explain right now in 1 or 2 sentences, what is the digital strategy of Gruner and Jahr?
Yeah, then I would say Gruner and Jahr wants to be in Europe, wants to be the digital leader in 3 segments. 1, everything to do with cooking at home, everything to do with living, and everything to do with parenting. So those are the 3 areas where Gruner and Jahr will massively invest, and that's in sales, content, marketplaces, e-commerce, and traditional brand business.
So I'm wondering a little bit, because content-wise, digital content-wise, I mean, you have Chef Koch, for example, as the #1, definitely #1 in Germany, and maybe also in Europe.
Number 2 globally.
Number 2 globally. Thank you very much for that information. But are you really investing into content in journalism, for example?
Yeah, right now, I mean, we can talk about what's scalable businesses and what's possible in Europe. Right now, we don't see that many scalable content businesses that we could purchase. That's why we've decided to organically invest in the content businesses ourselves. So between 20 and 40 million every year in those digital content businesses across Europe.
Okay, so but if we would compare a little bit, for example, the German market to the US market concerning journalistic media startups, there's a big difference. I mean, you are US American.
Yeah.
I don't know how well your connections are still, but there's a big difference.
They're not bad.
They are not. That's good. They're not bad. But if you would have to describe it by yourself, what is the biggest difference between the US market and the German market concerning journalistic media startups?
I think one thing is the market here doesn't scale as much as it scales in the US.
Okay, why doesn't it scale? Just because of the language?
I think the language is a big determinant. I think the fact is 350 million people that speak one common language is not 4 times bigger than 80 million people, it's 10 times bigger. It's massively bigger.
Mathematical, it doesn't make sense, but...
But from the amount of dollars and the amount of actually, you look at all the data, and a successful content site here has 3 million, 4 million unique users, and a successful content site in the US, we start talking about it with 25 million. So it's factor 8. 6 to 8.
So to summarize a little bit the digital strategy of Gruner and Jahr, is it to some kind of like let content and journalism die in a digital way?
No, I think it's actually, it will be what content. I totally believe that people are going to actually differentiate between commodity content and really, really unique content. The minute you create unique content or unique content services wrapped around with technology, you'll be willing to pay for it. As long as people produce commodity content, you won't pay for it. And then you have that problem.
That's another good point, I think. Yeah. So technology-wise, are you investing much in technology, for example, with Gruner and Jahr?
So last year we invested probably where you would go, not sexy, Mark. We invested in lots of tech and sales and algorithms, about 100 million. And so everyone's going, when is Gruner and Jahr going to step up to the plate and buy for 50 million the next content platform? And probably, look out this year, we probably will make some major moves in the content area here. They won't be, though, we won't buy the next BuzzFeed. That answer your question?
No. Yeah, well, a little bit. Maybe give us some more insights concerning your technology strategy. Is it more like focusing on more data startups, on data companies who monetize better as an advertiser platform, for example, or better CMS, for example? What are you focusing technology-wise?
Well, there's two areas. One area is all the technology stack to create and produce great content that scales. And the other tech stack is to better monetize that content through advertising.
Okay, got it, totally. But also concerning that topic, I mean, US America is far, far beyond German market, for example. And you are buying mostly German companies, right?
We're buying companies in Europe.
Okay.
But I wouldn't rule out this year that we take some moves into the US.
Okay, very interesting. So a little bit about you. So you have grown up in the US, you have studied in the US, and then with 24, 26 years old, something like that, you joined Oracle as a sales supervisor.
Exactly. Actually, I was 22.
22, okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I made a mistake.
It's okay,
that's possible. So with 22, you joined Oracle as a sales supervisor. Exactly. What was your job there? You supervised in sales.
I was actually... It was really interesting. I was the guy responsible for sending software packets over a TCP/IP network without a web interface. So the first time the commercial use of the net, like setting up Oracle's sales and software base basically globally.
Okay, got it. So imagine if you would have, you're again 22 years old.
Yeah.
And it's the year 2015. You're living in the US.
Yeah.
Would you join Oracle again, or would you rather join a startup, or maybe Oracle? No, Oracle wasn't a startup at that time. But maybe
no, but it was almost bankrupt.
So it felt like many startups too right now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
But would you rather join a startup or found a startup by yourself, or would you join Oracle again?
I think the question is probably most of the guys I studied in Berkeley or Stanford. Where's the flow of where's the happiness factor and what do you want to do? At the time of 1991, there was no startup culture. So there was Kleiner Perkins, but they were investing in software companies. So usually you didn't do that. You went to like a startup, you went to like a mature or a robust software company out of college. So right now I'd probably say, yeah, I'd go to a startup for sure.
Which startup would you prefer to join? If you could choose right now, is it a BuzzFeed? Is it maybe Now This News? Is it something technology-wise? I don't know, Vox Media, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about Vox and Vice, which I think would probably be the most fun to work at of those places. But I'm an IT guy at heart, so I probably would go to some high IT company. So,
any names for us? Any company names you're maybe not telling us the companies you're buying this year, but maybe some companies you would like to join?
I mean, I think those companies are beyond the point, but I mean, I mentioned Vice, which is an amazing company. High-tech companies, I think there's so many great B2B companies out there right now. So
how do you see that, for example, media companies, a lot of media companies like Vice or Vox Media, you already named them, are getting more and more into be a technology company than a journalistic, than a publisher. How do you see that field rolling?
Well, the fact is, I think you won't be able to separate the two anymore. Most media companies who publish print own their printing presses for 40 years ago or 50 years ago. So if you're going to produce content, you better own your content management stack, right? You're going to have to own your printing press in 2015 and 2020. So I don't think you'll divide that anymore. And when we look at companies who've done well in the content area, they've actually, the technology stack was just as important as their content offering.
Okay, so if you would have a value curve, for example, I know some of these images. I have some images in my head, for example, concerning value curves in media. Where do you see, where can you generate right now the most value in journalism in the way? Is it content creating? Is it the content itself? Or is it maybe the distribution?
Well, absolutely right now distribution is raking it in. So I think that's the struggle that all media companies are having, is how do they participate more in that value chain? And looking across the board, there are great examples of very niche players, but there's no one like Facebook or Google.
Who, for example?
I mean, we mentioned Vice. I like to mention here All Recipes, BBC Food, Chef Koch. I think that's great what the Refinery 29 guys are doing. So I think there are great content models that are starting to really scale.
Okay. So who of you actually who of you in the audience is running a media startup? Who of you is running a media startup? You are running a media startup. Poor guy. A very poor guy. What are you doing?
Very good.
Wando, yeah, I know you. We have to negotiate again, I think. Yeah. Do you know Nawando?
No.
It's some kind of like you are able to have. It's a service that you can let the article read by someone else, and you can download it on an app, for example, and you can have it in your pocket, and then in the subway, for example, you can listen to it.
Excellent.
Is it innovation? Is it innovative?
Sure, I think that is.
You think that is okay?
I mean, it all depends on. It sounds. This is what if it fulfills a customer need and it's easy to use, then it's innovative. And if it's no one's doing it better than you, and if you're doing business with Mark, then that's probably the recipe or probably your certificate that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I can definitely agree on that point. Maybe so. Let's assume we have here in this room the next Jonas Peretti, the founder of BuzzFeed, the next Arianna Huffington. Yeah. Let's assume that for a German magazine. If there would be something that you would advise to them, tell us the golden advice you would have for them, for example, now.
Well, I think, I mean, I know it's tough here because I don't think the problem anymore, if someone has a great idea, is getting money. There's ample.
That is not the problem anymore.
That's not the problem anymore. There's ample amount of cash to be had if you have a great idea.
From Gruner and Jahr.
Also from Gruner and Jahr. But I think that's the tough thing is, if Gruner and Jahr just brings money to the table, then they don't have any competitive advantage over other VCs or other investment vehicles.
Well, to be honest, I would disagree on that because for every media, or at least let's keep out Nawando, for example, for journalistic startups in Germany, I doubt that there's enough money right now because it doesn't scale, like you said before. But for example, somebody has a great journalistic idea. He wants to change the whole media, the news business. He wants to be the next competitor of Spiegel Online, for example.
Absolutely. Then they should give me a call.
Okay.
And the thing is that Gruner and Jahr did invest about 100 million in its digital assets, so inorganically digital, and we'll do that again this year. So we're not a fund that only has one-time amount of money. We're in this to stay, and so we will continue to invest a lot of money to try to find the silver bullet.
Okay. So how do you actually, so concerning Gruner and Jahr, how do you actually support intrapreneurship? Not entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship. How do you found some, for example, new brands inside of Gruner and Jahr?
Yeah, we're having a press conference tomorrow. I think Gründersszene is invited to, and so.
Oh, is it because that Julia is not attending here today?
No, not at all, not at all. But it's my press conference, not hers. So I think Gruner and Jahr is doing a couple things. We want to have a fund within our own four walls to actually help ideas that are born organically. And there's a lot of cases there that we're doing. And so we want actually content producers and journalists to have a platform, and we kind of connect them with good technology people. And then I think the other thing is Gruner and Jahr will definitely invest more in A and C seed rounds on journalistic areas that fit our target points.
Okay. Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think a little bit. So if you would compare right now Gruner and Jahr to the other publishers from Germany, how do you see your position right now concerning the digitization? For example, if you're telling me right now what you said, it sounds a little bit like you are having a Gruner and Jahr accelerator.
No, that's what I wouldn't say.
Okay, but it sounded a little bit like that.
It's more like a Gruner and Jahr lab.
Okay, that's...
but an accelerator basically takes any idea and basically tries to scale that idea. That's not our business. Okay, I think there's other people that can do that better. I think what Gruner and Jahr does very well is, one, I think that we have a pretty high success rate of actually building things within our house. And the second thing is, we're great, and if you talk to the people who we've partnered with in the last 2 or 3 years, I think we're really strong with entrepreneurs. We don't just make a cooperation and give them money. We help them hit their max.
Okay.
And I know this differentiates us from other people. We really want to have people get their max earnout when they join with Gruner & Jahr, and I know other people who we've partnered with, that's not the case with every media company or any other. They basically give money and go, okay, it's your goals to go for, do it. And they're basically left alone. So Gruner & Jahr's goal is give them all the good stuff, so cheap to no cost media, infrastructure help, everything else, but don't give them any of the bad stuff. A lot of bureaucracy, a lot of meetings, a lot of different interfaces that don't bring business. So take that out of the equation, help people hit their goals.
Good thing is we have everything what you said on video, so everybody who joined you after a year can watch it on video again. But let's assume that you are creating this lab and you are very open to entrepreneurs. And actually, I never heard something bad about Gruner & Jahr working together as an entrepreneur. So good luck for you. But the point is, if you could imagine 3 of the most important abilities for an entrepreneur to join Gruner & Jahr, what would that be?
I think the most important thing is that someone is totally passionate about their idea. So the entrepreneur that's looking for the exit, the quick exit is not going to be the first thing. So we won't get along really well. The second thing that's really important for the entrepreneur if they join up with Gruner & Jahr is to see the benefits they can get from Gruner & Jahr. And the third thing is to basically, to guard your USP, your ISP here, so your IP. So that would be super important to make sure to be strong enough as an entrepreneur to block out the things that are not going to be good for your business.
Okay, so we don't have that much time anymore, if I'm totally right. The next program point is already ready. So let's look into the crystal ball.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's obviously we are all very thrilled to see what happens in the next 5 years, especially in comparison Germany or Europe to the US market, especially what is happening right now in Germany with all the paywalls, which are upcoming hopefully.
What do you think about paywalls?
I think it's needed. And I don't want to quote anyone who is shareholder at my company, but I totally agree with.
You think they're going to work?
I hope it's going to work, because otherwise it's not possible to monetize journalism, in my opinion.
Tougher.
Do you agree?
No.
What is your thought about paywalls?
Well, I think that when I look at upcoming models outside of Google and Apple and Amazon, I think there's going to be new models that come in here. The blendles and codes. And I think those areas that basically wrap a technology around and aggregate a lot of people are better to actually selling content products than paywalls on individual sites.
So what we agree on is, on the one side, paywalls, individual paywalls for brands are not working, but paywalls inside of an aggregator will.
Yes.
Paying for content will work.
Absolutely.
So next to that point of paywalls, in 5 years, crystal ball, what is happening or what will happen?
For publishers or for media, for Gruner & Jahr?
Or wrap it up in one sentence, maybe? No. Maybe for publishers, for the whole media scene.
Yeah, I think that the publishers that are going to survive are going to diversify their businesses even more than they are right now. And they're going to learn how to give clients an end-to-end solution. So they're not just going to sell them content, and they're not just going to try to create advertising dollars. They're actually going to offer the client a lot more services and a lot more things that they can buy and experience. And I think the companies that do that really well will have a very high amount of the revenue will be digital, and they'll leverage their existing content and their brands.
Okay, so thank you very much for
Thanks,
this.
Mark.
Do you have any questions in this room to Stan? Any questions? No? No question. Cool. So I would say thank you very much, Stan, for being on stage. Big warm round of applause for him. Thank you very much.